Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Toss-Up. I'm Riley Woodall. Lace up your sneakers and get ready for tip-off because the first basketball show of the season is here. For the first time in Toss-Up history, it's the WNBA postseason show. We'll break down the wild playoff games so far, predict the rest of the finals, and hand out some end-of-the-year awards. It's all next on the Toss-Up. Time really does fly because October is halfway over, and with it comes my favorite season, fall, which means many things. Sweatshirt weather, pumpkin patches, Halloween parties, cooler temperatures. But for all us sports folk, it's also a time of pure joy. The MLB postseason, NHL, football, and the topic of today's show, the WNBA playoffs. The drama, the intensity, and the memorable moments have been palpable on the hardwood all season long. But now it comes down to two teams, and only one can call themselves champions of the W. Who will it be? We've got the answers for you, and I'm joined by Graham Nash, Mike Badrov, and Drew Foertsche. Gentlemen, welcome to the WNBA postseason show, and all of you are making your toss-up debuts. Lovely to have you guys with us. So let's just jump right into it. What's been your favorite moment of the WNBA postseason so far?
For me, in the postseason, it was the 22-point performance from Sabrina Ionescu to send the Liberty back to the finals. I mean, to do it against the Aces in Las Vegas, take down that team that beat them in 4 last season, it was just a very cool moment. And Ionescu, she's been struggling from beyond the arc so far this season, but to go 5 for 8 from beyond the arc in that game, 22 points, it was up there.
She took over.
She did.
Mike, Drew?
More from a media perspective, I love the fact that the finals game 1 got over 1 million views for the first time without Caitlin Clark too. I think it's an amazing moment just for the future of the WNBA and just in general for the future of women's sports. I love that so much, and I'm excited to see how the rest of the final will play out.
Yeah, adding on to game 1, like Mike said, game 1 was awesome. We saw the Lynx, down by 18 against Liberty, made a run, and then we see, sorry.
You were talking about the Lynx. I mean,
yeah.
Again, there's been so many moments to talk about, right, obviously. And again, Mike touched on it just a little bit. So, Graham, that leads into my first question to you. It's the most viewed postseason in 25 years. And on top of that, Mike mentioned it, over 1 million views in the finals game 1. So I want to ask you, what does this mean for the W going forward?
The W's rolling. I mean, they've got so much momentum. I think that's the best way to put it. And for me, it just seems like there's really a triangle movement of momentum right now. Probably not the best way to say it, so let's go further. There's a lot of interest right now with these young players. The Caitlin Clark effect, that's really been the term of the summer, almost. The Caitlin Clark effect has moved for all of these broadcast organizations wanting to put the games on TV. And with that, there's just come more interest, more fans watching, and then that's going to push more talent. And there's just going to be this rotation moving on and moving forward, and we've already seen that that's caused expansion. We now have a 13th team entering the league with the Golden State Valkyries. That's going to be fantastic for the league. And then also the finals next year are going to be a best of 7, not a best of 5.
Yeah.
So clearly,
as it should be.
As it should.
Yeah.
We're returning to nature. Nature's healing with it being a best of 7. But it really just shows there's so much interest, and now the broadcast companies have more reason to expand games, expand the league, and it's just really, in my opinion, those two pieces alone show that there's so much momentum for the W, and they're only moving forward.
Yeah, and it's about time, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's time that all those women, all those coaches, and everybody in the W get the recognition that they deserve. It's really awesome to see that growth take place. So, Mike, who is your biggest surprise team in this WNBA postseason here in 2024? And then also, your biggest letdown team?
Can I start with the bad news first?
Go for it. I like bad news first.
Yeah, I think the Chicago Sky, I'm a Chicago native myself. It was kind of disappointing to see that we had Angel Reese coming in, top prospect from the rookie class. Sky didn't really show up this season. And as someone who wanted, a good sports team for Chicago, just kind of the veteran and the rookie connection wasn't there. Kept on getting in fights with Caitlin Clark in the entire dramatic side of the season. I didn't like that for just the era of women's sports that we're entering. I thought we could have stayed away from that side of, okay, they have 4 flagrant fouls on one player. 80% of that player's flagrant fouls, Caitlin Clark. I don't want like the whole thing to be like, oh, it's the Chicago Sky versus Caitlin Clark. For me, that was a letdown, both on just the media outlook on the Sky, but also the performance of Sky as a team. But moving to the good news, we cannot stop talking about the Minnesota Lynx and their showcase this season. That is my biggest surprise team. They were my first WNBA game of all time, like the first one I ever went to see was the Lynx versus the Fever. And the Lynx were amazing to watch. I thought I was just going to go there to see the Fever and Caitlin Clark play, but no. The Lynx showed up. We've had Nafisa Collier, amazing time. And I'm sorry, I have my note cards here memorizing this. They lost some key players. They lost Ariel Powers and Rachel Bannon. They both key role players with veteran time, a lot of minutes. And like, how are they going to bounce back from that? But they did this season. We see them in the finals now. That's my biggest surprise team.
So the Lynx are one of 2 teams, Drew, that are left standing, fighting for the right to call themselves champions of the W. So how did we get here? How did the Lynx and the Liberty find themselves facing off in the finals right now, 1-1?
Well, Riley, it's 2 different teams, 2 different stories mainly. You know, the Lynx last year came in with a really good season, you know, got upset round 1, but they kind of found their footing in the offseason, adding 3 more starters with, you know, Elena Smith, Bridget Carlton, and then Nafisa Collier really flourished this season, you know, Defensive Player of the Year, runner-up and MVP. And that really propelled them to where they are now, especially with them being able to turn that narrative of a team that flakes out, but they were really able to make that run. And this season's been good for them because, you know, they led the league in 3-point shooting, and defensively, you know, with Collier leading them, they were a monster. They were second. They allowed the second fewest points per game in the whole season.
Offense and defense.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have the Liberty. You know, they were in the finals last year. They lost 3-1, and you know, it's kind of their revenge tour, as we say.
It's kind of 2 revenge tours on both sides in a way.
Yeah, more or less. But you know, you have that big 3 of Jonquel Jones, Sabrina Ionescu, and the vet Brianna Stewart. They've been there before. They know
She's great. She's awesome.
They know what they're doing, and you know, it's hard for any team to defend the Liberty, especially we saw that a series ago against the Aces. I mean, when you have Brianna Stewart at 6'4", and Jonquel Jones at 6'6", no one's really going to be able to stop their paint presence.
Yeah.
And along with that, you're having Sabrina Ionescu ball out, whether she's scoring or assisting. That really adds to their game, and I mean, both teams have been really impressive to say the least.
So at the time of the taping that we're taping this show right now, it's tied 1-1, and in about 20 minutes or so, Game 3 is about to tip off. So, gentlemen, how many more finals games are we going to get? Who's going to win, and who's the finals MVP? Graham, you can start us
off. All right, it will be my pleasure. We're going 5. It's going to end in New York. I think that the Lynx definitely win. I'm going to say the Lynx win Game 4 and pushes it to a 5th game in New York. The Liberty are going to win, and the MVP for me is going to be Brianna Stewart because she's been fantastic already, but she's had to do it through Nafisa Collier, Defensive Player of the Year, and she's had to guard Nafisa Collier. So for those reasons, I think Brianna Stewart has already had a great series. I think she's going to continue to perform for her team, and she's going to be my MVP.
Mike.
I really wish I went first now because now I'm going to sound like a repeat. But I'll change it up. Maybe 3-1 Liberty.
Game 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that it's just Liberty. It'll be the key determinator tonight. If the Liberty want to push forth and dominate and see if they can take a 2-1 lead, and then the next game after that, take that momentum going forth. I think it could really go either way. Lynx could go up with another win. I think Drew's going to mention this, but they had an 18-point lead, and they lost that. So if it's really how they want to keep that lead going forth and keep a dominating presence, I think the Liberty are going to take it. And I think that MVP, Brianna Stewart, leading her team in just points, averages 8.5 rebounds per game. She's leading both on offense and defense, and I just think it's amazing to have a leader like that on the team, especially for how this final and the viewership is going.
So we got 2 Brianna Stewart, 2 Liberty. Drew, Are you going to go against the grain, or are you agreeing with Graham and Mike?
I'm going to take the challenge. I'm going to go against it.
There we go.
I think
there
the
we
Lynx
go.
I think the Lynx are going to come out firing this game, and I think you're going to see Collier really put together a great performance. You know, even round 1 against Mercury, she tied the most points in WNBA history in a playoff game at 42. I think she's going to take that challenge on by herself, and I mean, they have great depth in their starting unit, and I just think they're going to play great D, hit deep shots from beyond the arc, and the Liberty, they're going to have their work cut out for them.
One thing's for certain, it's going to be a very, very exciting next couple, maybe 3 games. We'll have to wait and see. But stick with us, because coming up after the break, we've got some awards to hand out. Who doesn't love that? Find out which teams and players will get their flowers when we come back.
The Toss-Up, Fridays on IUSTV.
Welcome back to the Toss-Up. It's time to hand out our WNBA season awards. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, the flowers that I was planning to bring are real, but I forgot them, and so we're just going to go along with the awards as usual. So, Graham, you are up first. Each panelist is going to get 3 awards to hand out from this season. You have the best offense of the year.
Got to be the New York Liberty. I mean, they are just dominant, and they can play your game. If you want to run fast, they'll run faster. If you want to set up, make a play, they'll design a better one. And they've got such great talent. We mentioned it earlier, Jonquel Jones, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu. I mean, they just have so many options. So for that reason, I got to go with the New York Liberty.
Mike, best defense of the year.
As a team, aces. As a player, Asia Wilson, just coming back, defensive year over defensive year. Leading, I think the best defense is a great offense, and she leads on both sides of the court right there. So I'm going to go with aces and Asia Wilson.
Kind of foreshadowing, but we'll see if Graham agrees with you. Drew, you've got the offensive player of the year.
That's an easy one. He talked about her. Asia Wilson is by far the offensive player of the year. You talk about someone that's came in and has averaged the most points per game in WNBA history, and then had more than 1,000 points as a player. That's something we haven't seen before. So, you know, the Aces might have gotten bounced in the playoffs, but I mean, she's the MVP, and she showed it from her offensive performance day in and day out.
Graham, defensive player of the year.
Gonna go Nafisa Collier. I'm gonna go against the grain with this one. And
can't be mad about that.
I will admit it was tough, because Asia Wilson is such a fantastic defensive player. But what gives Collier the edge for me is the Minnesota Lynx were already a fantastic defensive team, and Collier made that great defensive team even better. Whereas Asia Wilson, she was the only reason that the Aces had a great defensive team. She was kind of the only reason. But Collier, she came in and she really built around a squad, and she can guard any position. I mean, she's just so efficient. So for that reason, I'm gonna go Collier. I'm sorry.
No, it was a really tough matchup, and I went with, I'm again an offensive guy, and so for her to, I like seeing the points. I like seeing the numbers go up, and so for me, that was just kind of why I chose her.
So, Mike, we'll see who you choose here. You've got the 6th player of the year.
Another Aces player, Tiffany Hayes. I think that I like role players as a 6th player. I like someone that can come off the bench, make shots consistently, and what's more consistent than 40% from the 3-point range. Just as an overall season average stat, I think that she was key for the Aces' road to the semifinals. But coming off the bench, there's nothing more that I like to see than someone that can just rip a 3 from any place. And you know, hey, that's a really good shot. That's going to go in. So.
Drew, you've got the comeback player of the year.
That's gonna have to be Seattle Storm guard Skylar Diggins-Smith. She gave birth to her 2nd child last season, so she had to come back from nothing basically, and you know, she came back, led Seattle to a playoff berth, which is amazing. But she also did that, averaging 15 points per game and 6 assists. So she showed, just because you know she had birth, that's not going to slow her down, and it's just an awesome story to see that.
Absolutely amazing story. Last time through, Graham, your last one, your last award to hand out, Coach of the Year.
Cheryl Reeve, Minnesota Lynx. The Lynx, they were, I think, projected to be 9th to finish the season, and they were 2nd. They went into the WNBA playoffs, 2nd position, and to start 14-4 is just unbelievable. No one expected that. And to back it up, winning 13 of 15 out of the Olympic break, that's just unreal. So it's got to be her. She's the head of basketball operations for the team. So she chose who she wanted to bring in the offseason. And so she clearly had a vision for this team coming in, and man, she executed.
She did indeed. Mike, you've got game of the year.
Give me the double overtime game between the Liberty and the Aces, 88-84
That's a great one.
for a semifinal. Sabrina Nescu, 24 points.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. I don't think double overtime for any game, any sport is amazing, but for just the semifinals and for the viewership of that and for the attendance of that and for like the aura around that game for both teams, like, hey, they want the semifinal win. I love that.
Drew, take us home. The all-important player of the year.
I'm going to sound like a big Asia Wilson fan, but
That's not a problem.
I'm going to say it again. I mean, Mike talked about her defensive rating, and then you come in with her offensive production. She has just been a catalyst for what the Aces have been able to do the last couple of years, and, you know, she backed it up again, and we'll see even about next year. She's just one of those players that's generational and could go down as one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, well, gentlemen, this was an extremely fun show, and good job, all of you, on your toss-up debut. It was a lot of fun, and we've got 2, maybe 3 more games of the W to watch here in 2024. But that'll do it for us this week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to continue the discussion and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. And give our toss-up socials a follow on those same platforms as well. It's going to be an electric next few days in the WNBA. With that, there's one thing left to do. Get us the pass, we'll bury the 3, and as always, we'll see you next week. God bless.